Well, that was quite a race at Las Vegas. We had an upset winner, a great battle going into the final stages of the race, and even the big one at Las Vegas. Somehow. Let's get into it. So I might as well address the big one right away. Right at the start of the restart after the competition caution, Riley Herbst was himself, and this happened. And we got a wreck. Oh crap, a huge gaggle of cars. Looks like, got oh my shitty. Jeb Burton, Alex LeBay, Sam Mayer, Carson no, that's JJ Yaley. You want censorship? Well, you're out of the race. How is that? And Clements. Oh, man, not Clements. Oh, Herbst, I thought you were going to win, but I'm not complaining. So, yeah, he took out 3 playoff contenders, including himself, Jeremy Clements, and Jeb Burton. It also ended up taking out Sam Mayer, Alex LeBay, and, who else is it? JJ Yaley, yeah, and that Parlor Chevrolet. So yeah, not the greatest way to kick off your second playoff stint ever, huh? The real fun began in the last part of the race, and that was part of the great battle between Justin Allgaier and Josh Berry. Now, JRM clearly came loaded for wear because their cars were really fast. Noah Gragson probably would have been battling up there for the lead had he not been stymied by two speeding penalties. It's stage 1 and stage 2. But he did end up battling back to finish 3rd. Now, the real battle, of course, Justin Allgaier and Josh Berry. They were swapping the lead during the late parts, or at least Josh Berry was fighting to get passed by Justin Allgaier. And it made for some really good racing. Before their pit stop, around with 20 laps to go, and again, after their pit stop, it was a great battle for Allgaier to try to get back around, but ultimately Josh Berry was able to get ahead of him and keep the lead, and that of course led to the finish of the race. Coming to the white flag, Josh Berry has 1 more lap to go for his 2nd victory of the season. Driving the number 1 Pilot Flying J Chevrolet. Just thinking, the man that Dale Jr. saw talent in, had him drive late models for a decade, won the championship for late models last year, comes to the Xfinity Series, wins at Martinsville in his first ever start there. And now on an intermediate, he's going to be the victor coming off of turn 4. Josh Berry for the number 1 team wins the Alsco Uniforms 302. It was Allgaier in 2nd and Noah Gragson in 3rd to top off a 1-2-3 for JRM. So yeah, Josh Berry wins his 2nd race of the season first on an intermediate, which is freaking insane for a guy who's known for his short track prowess. Watching that was just really good to see, especially when you makes you think about the fact that he also could have won Michigan, which is a 2-mile super speedway. Also a battle between Justin Allgaier and himself, and the fact that that could have gone his way as well. Anyways, looking at the rest of the top 10, you can see some of the other JGR cars. There was Daniel Hemrick and Brandon Jones. Ty Gibbs was not up there, mostly because he had a penalty on his final pit stop that forced him to go all the way to the back. See, a good run for Ty Dillon in that 31 car, a great run for Jordan Anderson Racing. What's not shown here is also the fact that it was also a good day for JD Motorsports. Bailey Curry was, I believe, finished 11th, which is very impressive for a team that rarely ever finishes in the top 10. It's usually happy to get top 20. I believe both Landon Castle and Ryan Vargas also finished in the top 20. Great run for them. And even Kyle Weatherman, running in the 47 for Mike Harmon Racing, was able to get up there. Now, frankly, this also might be due to the fact that 6 cars better than them crashed out early, but you take what you get, and frankly, the fact that Bailey Curry was running well, I think shows that at least he was running super well, even without the cars that crashed out. So kudos to those smaller teams. So looking at the not the top 10, the playoff standings, you can see Cindric, Allmendinger, Allgaier, and Gragson all had fantastic runs today. They all ran in the top 5, racked up the stage points, and did enough to propel themselves higher above the cut line, which is pretty safe, especially with Talladega coming up. You really want to be safe with that. Daniel Hemrick also ran pretty well, probably the best of the JGR cars overall, considering their end finish. Justin Haley, Harrison Burton, and Brandon Jones all had passable runs as well. They weren't really that fantastic. Brandon Jones really only needs to do well enough to get above the cut line. He was below it. Two drivers that were also below it, Clements and Herbst, crashed, and Snyder was not running well, so all he had to do was really run well enough that he would be able to rise above Jeff Burton, who was also involved in that crash. So he is now safer. And that leads us to the 4 cars that are now under the playoff line. Jeff Burton, Riley Herbst, and Jeremy Clements all were involved in that wreck, and Snyder just ran terrible. Seriously, he's had 9 top 10s, but he has not had a top 5 since his win at Homestead and had a pretty bad summer stretch. I don't think he's that great of a driver, and frankly, I think it's showing off here. He did not have a good car at all. So what's the verdict on the race? It had a really good ending, especially with Josh Berry and Justin Allgaier furiously battling. And it did have its fair share of 3 and 4 and even 5 wide racing, especially on those restarts. So overall, that was actually some pretty good racing. Plus, seeing how that final green flag stopped the playoff instead of having to rely on a green-white checkered finish or just a really close finish right at the end like the trucks, it was pretty nice to see a more strategic play go out. So I think overall it was a pretty good race. 7.5 to 8.5 out of 10, I'd say. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's race reaction / review. I hope you enjoyed. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. This is BowserJrXD signing off. See you tomorrow for the South Point 400 for the Cup Series.